Firstly, Cheryl and I would like to say a big thank you to all of you who have attended this 50th anniversary function. You all have been involved with us in one way or another over the last 50 years. You might be curious to know how it all started. Cheryl had arrived from Gisborne and started coming to Hawke's Bay Youth for Christ rallies in Napier, and soon joined in with the many activities. After church sing-alongs, singing in the chorale, weekend camp retreat. Through this, we got to know each other and our relationship blossomed. Cheryl moved to Wellington to join me as I had been transferred to film sound section for WNTV1. She secured a secretarial job working for George Gear, National's Minister of Housing, and then later worked with Labour's Roger Douglas. Cheryl flatted in Karori, and I had a flat in Kandala. We then became engaged officially after a year when only the family knew. You can ask me later why. And we started to plan our future together. With Wellington Television Centre being built in Lower Hutt, we decided to settle in the Hutt area, and we found this amazing section in Mangaraki, which we purchased. So, on the 13th of September 1975, we were married at St David's Presbyterian Church, Gisborne. We had a typical fine day, an event that we both still cherish. Here's a few images of that occasion. After the honeymoon, we settled back into our new flat in Kings Crescent, Lower Hutt, and started planning our house to be built on that section. We both pored over house plan magazines, then engaged a draftsman, builder, and so 42 Acacia Avenue came into being. Lots of work, staining beams, painting, wallpapering, etc. And we moved in May 1977, after a bit of a hold-up from the devastating floods of December 76. After the next few years developing the section with fences, paths, retaining walls, and the basement built one block at a time. During this time, Cheryl gives birth to Michael, and so another big event that changes you forever, parenthood. Time to add stage 2 to our house, which incorporated a garage, entry, dining room and lounge. Interior then to be lined, and eventually wallpapered and carpeted. Another bundle of joy arrived in the form of Nicholas in June 81. Then Gregory arrived on the scene late in November 1983. New friendships were made at Lower Hutt Baptist Church, which we had joined, and that included picnics away, camp weekends, as well as our usual holidays with the boys in the tent. It didn't seem long before the boys were at school with activities and new friendships made. Cheryl became very creative, making an amazing variety of birthday cakes for the boys' birthdays celebrating their special day. Here's just some of them. As a family, we explored New Zealand. Often with friends. An extra bedroom was added, with the boys lending a hand. My television career was challenging but hugely rewarding, having moved into the lighting production area. Lighting Parliament corridors for the visits of Prince Charles and Lady Diana, working on the 25 years of television production, fashion shows, the NZSO Orchestra from the Michael Fowler Centre, and then the Queen's visit in 1986, again through Parliament, were highlights. In September 1988, we undertook our first family overseas adventure, travelling up the east coast of Australia, starting from Melbourne and working our way north, visiting Canberra, Sydney, and Brisbane, which was hosting Expo 88 at the time. Also fun times with the kids at the amusement parks of SeaWorld and Dreamworld. 1989 to 90 were interesting years for us both. Cheryl's work with an insurance company ended, and I was made redundant from TVNZ. What to do? I was fortunately employed by the new TV3, and Cheryl started Stephen's secretarial service from our home office. 6 months later, TV3 went into receivership, and my TV career ended. So Cheryl and I joined forces and moved the business into the central business area of Lower Hutt, firstly upstairs at 115 High Street, and then across the road to a ground floor site. Stephen's secretarial / copyright was born, and that became our focus for the next 30 years. In January 1995, our last family camping trip was made. A 3-week tour of the South Island, taken over by the Lynx catamaran ferry. We visited Christchurch, Lake Tekapo and the Hydro Lakes, Dunedin, Bluff, Queenstown, Doubtful Sound and Milford Sounds, and back up the west coast via Punakoki and Denniston, then home. With the boys now in their latter teens, we often joined friends to enjoy walks, various outings and holidays when we could get away from the business. A quick trip to Auckland to see Cliff Richard performing with Olivia Newton-John at Mount Smart Stadium. Also, we loved the Buskers festivals in Christchurch over Wellington Anniversary weekend, and here's just a small snippet of some of the fun stuff we saw.
I'll tell you when. You people better clap after this. Okay, this is the narrow end. What a relief. This trick would not be complete unless I squeezed through a toilet seat. Number 3. Should have wiped this one down. There you go. Okay, hold on. Just feeling a bit flush. Alright, I'm sorry, no more crap jokes. Oh, what a relief. Check it out, ladies. I'm done with the toilet and I'm putting the seat down.
We both loved entertaining with our friends. Having Wii games on the large screen was fun. And also special events, getting dressed up for Kate and William's wedding was a fun night had by all. Many of you here probably have forgotten all about that night. We also advertised movie nights that people could come along and attend to. Here's one. We enjoyed many mission concerts in Hawke's Bay with wonderful artists that we had grown up with in our teens. "21st birthdays for the boys were undertaken. Michael's and Nicholas's were extravagant events, because that's what I'd grown up with. Greg wanted a more low-key affair. Soon after that, Michael became engaged to Sarah, and they were married in April 2003. 2004, we had to vacate our High Street shop premises. With few options at the time, a move into the Centre City Plaza was next. This involved a major refit, with many late nights getting it ready for our use. We appreciated the help from friends on the move day, with just a weekend to pack up, ship out, and be open for business on Monday. Our family extended over the 6 years as our grandchildren came on the scene. Michael and Sarah had Blake and Isla, and Greg and Liz had wee boy Brody. Cheryl's role as Nana was taken on with much enthusiasm, and I was also a proud papa. In 3 years we had outgrown the Centre City Plaza space, so another shift to our third location, 73 Queen's Drive. 3 times the size, but space. Several long weeks of building display cabinets, partitions, painting, but we were happy with the space for the next 10 years. 2011, our first major touring trip, going through Turkey with our friends Glenys and Bruce. What an amazing country, with its history going back centuries, was hard to comprehend. Highlights were around the Cappadocia area, balloon trips, the formations, the dark church built in the rock.
And there is an amazing church.
Beautiful colours. Look at this. It's absolutely incredible. Love it.
We're at about 1,500 feet at the moment.
Walking the streets of Ephesus
Cheryl and Graham have been exploring the library.
and the sobering crosses of Anzac Cove. Then we had a week in London, catching up with Nick and Kerry and seeing the sights. Our next overseas trip was a self-driving 5-week tour, again with friends Glenys and Bruce, off to the Rocky Mountains of Canada. With majestic mountain ranges.
The boys planned the trip.
The odd beer.
Lake Louise Chateau, Lake Louise in the foreground.
And it's Mount Victoria,
Mount Victoria up behind, which is about
1,365 feet.
Standing on the Columbus Glacier.
Well, we're at the mighty falls, that's Cheryl's descriptive word for the day.
Seeing Canada's second highest waterfall.
Outstanding.
Drive through to Vancouver, meeting our cruise to Alaska.
We're sitting looking out the window before having breakfast, and you just have windows that go from the top of the ceiling down to the floor. You just see everything. Gorgeous.
Seeing the amazing glaciers up close in Glacier Bay.
We're getting close. We're at the front of the queue now for the next bunch of cars going through.
Back into the USA via Seattle.
Well, we're finally through. It's 10:20, so probably a good 2 hours wasted, I think.
Seeing underground parts of the old city.
We just walked into a doorway up there. We just walked into the building right through this window. Came in here and down the stairs. See?
Really?
Yep. In a little while we're going to go out this doorway here, which is actually that doorway right over there. Turn right, walk past the window. We waited 36 years before we just...
Now you see why there's all these sort of funny basements as you walk along.
And then flying to Las Vegas. Touring around the different canyons was again mind-blowing, with Bryce Canyon being the highlight.
9:30 in the morning. There she is, ready for a big day. At this point, we're on the side we're filming from. It's flat, level ground with trees, and suddenly you come to this point, and suddenly this whole vista just opens up in front of you. So our walk continues down through this valley. It's so amazing country. We're at Arches National Park. It is Thursday morning. The scale of the show is just too hard. Cameras won't show it, and the height of this stuff is just mind-boggling, really. New Mexico, Arizona.
Okay, 30 seconds, go. Go, Graham.
Arizona! Couple of brave souls.
Closely followed by the Grand Canyon.
Il va s'asseoir dans le vide. Elle va s'asseoir dans le vide parce qu'elle a l'air de choucher.
Back in Las Vegas, a place hard to describe really. We took in an O-show and wandered along the avenue to see all the different casinos and their displays. Just amazing. March 2014, and we had Nick and Kiri's wedding in Napier. So nice to see their commitment to each other. We had the travel bug now, and what a way to celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary, but dining on the River Seine. But first, a whirlwind Cosmos tour through Europe, starting in Amsterdam, going through Germany, Switzerland, Italy,
Had a lovely glass of champagne and some nice nibbles. I think it's going to be a good night.
I've not quite finished my champagne yet. It's getting there. Got a bit of wait to get a bit of food and I'll go to my head.
Notre Dame at night, stick for the fake of it. We cruise for our dinner cruise.
What sort of food are you having? Because they've bought stuff. Yeah, I'm loving it.
Here's the lovely couple. We should be piping them off.
We then had a week in the wine growing area of France, Alsace. Again, the history, the buildings, the castles are just wonderful. A flight to Ontario, Canada, and a very, very late drive. We ended up at Niagara Falls, on to New York. One hectic week. Central Park, visiting an aircraft carrier to see the shuttle, Times Square and other busy streets around New York, Empire State Building and amazing views, and 9/11. Cheryl's love of singing with the Hutt Valley Community Choir continued, and some major concerts where I was also able to assist with sound and lighting for those events. "2020 COVID. During the lockdown, a slightly stressful time with the business closed, but we enjoyed lots of walks around the neighbourhood, developed chats to children, keeping up with friends via video feeds, which was a new way of doing things.
Who do I see? Oh, look at that. They're all sitting up there happy and waiting to say, hello, Brodie. How are you? What are you doing today?
Well, this is our third week of our lockdown, 2 days to go, and we're going to have a dinner date.
We are.
Cheers to you guys.
Well, cheers everybody for making 5 weeks, 5 weeks of this.
Yes.
Oh, we've had an exciting day today. We've done so much that was different to the last 4 weeks.
August that year, while we were out walking before work, flax caught round Cheryl's foot and a shattered ball joint in her right arm was a result. An op followed. 3 weeks later, Cheryl's autoimmune system went haywire. Wellington Neurology Ward was her home for the next 4 months. We so appreciated the prayers and help from friends over this difficult period. Home just before Christmas, with a 3-year recovery from that brain injury for her to get through. We are so thankful that she recovered fully and started cooking and gardening once again. December 2022. I sold the business and retired to work around the home and keep Cheryl company. I needed a project, so I decided to add the ensuite to our bedroom that had been consented several years earlier. It was a massive project for me, but with help, when required, from Greg and Bruce, even Nick came over from Melbourne to lend a hand. I was able to finish that project and complete an upgrade of other rooms over the next year. June 2024, we enjoyed a 3.5 week in Australia with Glennis and Bruce, seeing Sydney Vivid 24, the Blue Mountains, Cairns, and in a week with our Aussie friends in Surfers Paradise. So lovely to be travelling again, but on our return, Cheryl suffered a mild stroke. Again, support from close friends, prayers from many we knew. She has recovered well. I take my hat off to her for her inner strength. She's never complained, frustrated with her loss of over 50% of her eyesight, but is still making the most of her abilities. We did celebrate our 50th anniversary on the 13th of September with our friends Carol and Murray from Surfers Paradise, who were also celebrating their 50th, having gotten married the same day, same year, but in Papua New Guinea. We give thanks to God for this past 50 years and look forward to what the next chapter brings our way. So I and Cheryl thank you for sharing this special anniversary.